Let's head over to Pennsylvania. I don't think it's Pittsburgh, but we'll find out. Anthony, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
I'm in South Central Pennsylvania. A long time listener, long time admirer, and long time debater with you. I'm a historian and a theologian and all that. Obviously, gentleman, statement he made about moving, and he doesn't seem to be very aware of our history. America has been in much worse conditions at different situations since they declared independence 244 years ago. Much worse. Black people have come a long way. I'm not saying today is the best, but it's one of the better times we've experienced. And those of us who know history know better than that. So I know he's
Okay,
very
I think Anthony, I appreciate your scholarship. But yeah, this is a time for everyone to examine your life. And he's raising three girls. If you're a parent right now, with this country, with the raging pandemic, the horrible leadership, the horrible past, you should be.
The
You know,
education
you're
system.
valuable. Education. You should be. You looking for a home. Just the way you look for a home. You check the school system, the neighborhood, the crime. You do all of those things. Right now, America is like probably in the bottom across the board in all of these areas. Do you want to raise your? If you have a choice, which you do, right? W. Kamau Bell, you have a choice.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I understand that I'm in a privileged position, and I joke about moving, but I also, at some point, I was like, what are we fighting for in this country? Like, there's this myth of America that we're fighting for, but the reality is quite different. And yeah, there are places on the planet that we could debate are worse than this country, but we're supposed to be the greatest country on the planet. And the greatest country on the planet right now is talking about forcing kids back into school in a few weeks and forcing teachers to go back into school in the middle of a pandemic, that the virus spreads through kids who don't catch it, but they have it. And then I heard somebody say today, you know, the teacher may be 30, the principal may be 50, they may live with their grandmother who's 70, and they're just passing that virus around. And we live in the so-called greatest country in the world that is using kids as the petri dish for COVID-19. So, yeah, I do know my history, sir. I also know my present, and I'm looking to have a better future.
Oh, well, you know, I actually am somebody that's going to stay and fight, you know, but I cannot ever be mad at somebody who's making a different choice right now, because your future is everything. And however you choose to live it, no one should be shamed for that, because this is untenable on so many levels.
And I'm not, and you know, when I talk about moving, I also think I was talking to my kids about this, because they have the impression that COVID is hitting the world equally everywhere. And I had to go, no. Other countries have figured it out, because I don't want my kids to grow up with the idea that America is the world. That's the problem with this country. A lot of people think America is the world. And my kids were like, oh, it's not. And I was like, no. And I started listing countries, most of which are led by women. Let's just be clear on that this is not the world. So how we're experiencing this country is not the world. And I think one of the big problems of this country is, in Europe, you can travel because it's pretty cheap to travel from country to country. But a lot of Americans don't have passports, and it's expensive to travel. So we get caught up in the idea that the world outside of our house and what we see on TV is the entire world, when it's just not.
A lot of propaganda.
I couldn't agree with you more about that, man. I feel like there's so many Americans in general, but American kids think like the sun rises in L.A. and sets in New York, and that's where it begins and ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see it in business conversations all the time where people are talking about, well, this play in the Midwest. I was like, yo, this should be playing in India. This should be playing in China. Like, what are you talking about right now? Like, they're like, do we have an Africa strategy? Which country?
Oh my God.
And I think let's say I do pull up stakes and move, I'm still an American citizen, and I'll still be fighting for this country. We could be going home in a different place. I don't think I would ever lose my status as someone who has a stake in what happens in America. And I mean, if my wife's going to be like, are we moving? I heard you talking about moving. I'm not. I still have a mortgage that I'm paying off, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. But I do think that as Americans.
If you move, do you have to pay your mortgage?
I don't.
Anyway, let me not put that out there. Never mind.
Yeah. Don't get me caught up with the bank. But no, I just think that we have to understand that, because you look at the news every day, and like we're saying, COVID is ravaging this country, but it's not ravaging the world. It is hitting hard other places, but other places, many other places have done a better job with COVID. And also think about this. The protests in the wake of George Floyd's killing didn't just happen in the States. They happened all over the planet.
Yeah.
All over the planet, they were protesting against American racism. In Berlin. And Berlin knows what it is when hate gets out of control.
Come on.